Alright, today I'm going to be modifying my CenTech handheld metal detector that I just recently bought. It came with a little case, 9-volt battery, and that's about it. First, take it apart. I already been playing with it a little bit, so I had got the battery in there. You can see it lights up and it So my plan here is to make it more like one of the Garret Pro pointers, and kind of rebox this so that it's better for as a pinpointer in a metal detecting out in the yard and stuff. So first things is getting this into a tube is going to be somewhat difficult. I'm kind of thinking I'm going to put it into a tube. Because they'll probably pop right loose. Yep. Oh, they're barely on there. So boom, coil's loose. And these other ones are going to be a little more difficult. Not pots mechanically. So if you guys aren't familiar with taking stuff off a board, there's a couple ways to do it. Either this solder sucker or solder, what they call solder wick. Comes in a little package like that. The solder sucker is just a kind of like a reverse syringe, where you push the plunger down and then you hit the button and it sucks stuff up. They make a more expensive version of this with a vacuum pump built into a base station that I used to use all the time when I was doing a lot of this. But I'm pretty low cost here, so and the solder wick uses like a capillary action to get the to get the solder off the pins, and they actually work pretty well. I've taken a lot of stuff off boards with it. So I'm just going to bend these tabs on this potentiometer straight so that it'll pop out through the board, and I can put a little pressure on it. And while I'm heating it up, hopefully just pop it loose. So basically the LED and the potentiometer and the on-off switch are going to be kind of relocated, so I need to get them off the board. Also help me when I cut it in half, so they're not kind of in the way. Solder wick, you kind of got to cut it off every now and then. Held this up to the light a little bit, and I counted 2, 3, 4 traces on the top, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 traces on the bottom that I'm going to cut through. So that'll be 5 wires I have to figure out how to get onto the board after I chop it. I'm just going to cut this on my bandsaw since I have one. If you don't have a bandsaw, you can use like a coping saw or a hacksaw or something. Okay, no guts, no glory, right? So much for my brand new metal detector. I'm gonna put the wires through and then solder them, scrape the solder mask off and solder them onto there, or maybe run them over and put a little hot glue on them or to wherever they're going. But I just wanted some extra strain relief because it's going to be bouncing around inside the tube, so as much strain relief as possible is probably a good idea. That one's all done. Start on this one. This one's a little bit more difficult because it got more components on it and everything's just a little tighter. There's just no room up in here to put any strain relief holes, so those are just going to have to be what they are. Okay, got some of this kind of old, it's kind of some sort of category wire, probably like Cat 3, or I doubt if it's Cat 5. Yeah, it's got 3 pairs, so it's like Cat 3 or something. This is a solid wire. Ideally, I think I'd prefer stranded, so that if it moves around, it doesn't run the chance of breaking. But that's what I have, so I'm gonna use it. And I think I'm just gonna solder this, shave some of the solder mask off of this with a little screwdriver here, kind of in a few spots on the different traces. And just solder right onto the to the trace. And there we go. Electrically put back together. Be able to fold that over and fit it in a little piece of PVC pipe. Alright, I am back. Got my piece of pipe I'm going to use as a casing. This is 1.5 inches, and my modified circuit board fits in there just fine without any problems. I think the problems I'm going to have is where I place the switch, the on-off switch, and the buzzer, and the vibrating motor, and the adjustment pot are going to be critical when I go to put this together. But the first thing I'm going to do to this pipe is I want to have the back end where I can take it off to change the battery. And so I went and I got this 1.25 inch plug today at the store. And the idea is I'm going to tap this out and get this in there. I don't have a tap that size, which is the problem. And probably would cost $200 or $300 for a tap that size. So I bought a little nipple that's got the same thread pattern as the plug I'm going to put in there. My plan is to stick this in the oven, heat it up for a good half hour or so, and then come out here, put this in the vise, and then thread this into here. And then I was going to clamp it with a hose clamp. When that cools, then I'll be able to get this in, and that'll be how I get my battery, how I change my battery on it. The other side, I took some larger pipe, cut it in half, and then heated it up in the oven, and then put a weight on it to make it kind of flat. My plan there is I'm going to cut this to fit inside here, and then I'm going to have and then I should be able to drill a hole to put this in, and also to put the LED for the light. So that's my plan. I'll come back after I heat this baby up. Dang it. Dang it. Yeah, my cap screw's in there pretty good, and it gets quite tight because that's pipe thread, so the further you screw it in, the tighter it gets, because it's kind of a V-shaped thread. So that's really good. That'll be watertight. It looks a little ugly because of the heat and the clamps, but I think I can sand that out or figure out some way to disguise that. So that's the back end where everything's going to slide in. And right about here will be the front end. And but I'm pretty happy with that thread that came out there. I mean, obviously buy a tap that big, it's going to be a couple $100, and by then you might as well just bought the real pinpointer. So doing it this way worked out. Oh, I wanted to mention too that you know, obviously I could have got the regular fittings that went over the top of this, and then had the regular 1.5 inch fitting that screwed into that, or cap that went over the top of it. But I was trying to make this look a little more streamlined and slick, and so I was thinking if I threaded it and used a 1.25 inch cap, that it would look a lot better, and I think it will. I think it will, and it's going to fit my hand a lot better and not get in the way. So I think that's going to be pretty good. I'll start making this end cap. See, these didn't come out exactly straight. I don't know if you can see that, but they're a little curvy. So I'm not 100% sure how they're going to work, but we'll give it a try here. Just going to take a Sharpie here. I cut a little piece of this 1.5 inch pipe off the end, and I'm just using it to mark the inside diameter. Alright, so I got this piece trimmed down, and I got it so it fits rather snugly into the pipe. So I don't want to put it in there too hard because it'll be hard to get back out, but it fits okay into there. And you can see the LED will fit right in there, nice and snug. And I'll just silicone caulk the heck out of the inside of it before I put this together. Alright, I'm back. Got some parts in. I got this 3-turn potentiometer. Let me zoom in a little bit here. And it's a 2K ohm potentiometer, precision wound, and it has 3 turns to go to produce that 2,000 ohms of resistance. So that's going to help me with my fine-tuning my adjustment a little better. I also got a little switch, push on, push off. Somewhat water resistant casing, it's all molded, and then I got a little rubber dome cap for it, that when it screws on it's going to be pretty much watertight. So probably put a little silicone caulk in there too, just to make sure everything's right. And then this is the buzzer I pulled out of it, and I'm trying to figure out what to do with this buzzer, how to kind of waterproof it. So that's still to be determined, but my plan for today is to get this stuff mounted into something that I can then mount into the tube that's going to become my pinpointer. So first things first, I'm going to cut a chunk of this. I'm thinking I can use the same 1.5 inch tube that I tapped. I'll just cut a chunk off the end here and start working that. So I'm just going to try and figure out how much I need, which probably isn't going to be a whole lot, and we'll cut this on the bandsaw. Then I can do a clamp across and a clamp down once I get my piece of plastic heated up here. And we'll just heat her up. Clamped a couple of wood blocks to the bench, and then got it in the middle so that it looks pretty like a fairly pleasing oval shape. And I just checked to make sure that my knob for my potentiometer is going to fit in there. I'm not worried about the potentiometer actually fitting in there, although it does, because it should be below it. So we'll let this cool down a little bit, and then work on putting the bottom in it. Okay. Now next I'm going to work on figuring out how long this needs to be. So I need to be able to get my plug in there, my 9-volt battery, plug, my 9-volt battery. Let me see if I can get this propped up here so I can kind of take a better measurement. My board. And as soon as it's about dry, this guy. And then probably a little bit of this guy. So I'm thinking I need to cut my pipe about here. I think that'll be pretty good. Put everything back away, and we'll start trying to get this. We either need to make the bottom of this guy, or we need to make the hole for it here. Really, I think I want to go around the outside. Try and mark it here. Okay, for this I'm just using a regular PVC plumbing glue. It's regular PVC plumbing pipe, so might as well use the regular glue. So the purple stuff is a cleaner. Kind of preps the edges to accept the glue. Alright, I'm back. Had a little memory card problem. Anyways, I got this piece here all finished. I just basically glued it in, just glued the bottom piece that I made into there. So that's ready. Next is cut this hole here that this is going to fit into. and do that on the drill press. Let's get my piece here. Trying to fit in there. And there we go. She's fit in there. I wish it was a little nicer fit, but it'll be okay when the glue's on there. But there's a little collar right here on this potentiometer. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to counterbore, because I really want this flat against the bottom of my little bracket I made. So there, that little counterbore there. Alright, so there it is. 2 holes all drilled up. Took a little counterboard, bored that in there. Now I can get my nut on there. My plan is I'll solder some wires onto there and get that installed, glued in there, and I can cut this tube here, install my front piece, but I need to finish my front piece still too, so maybe I'll do that next. So off camera, I cut a little piece of PVC. And glued it onto my detector shaft here, just a little past this hole where the wires used to come out. Now I'm going to take another piece of this little PVC and I'm going to glue I have to counterbore that out a little bit, or ream that out a little bit, and then the idea is that goes on and then that goes on, and it all gets glued together. It should be pretty watertight at that point. I'm going to go over the vise and open this hole up a little bit with the file. Yeah, it slips on a lot better. Okay, one last thing was one mod that I see a lot of people doing online on these metal detectors is adding a little vibrating motor. So I went ahead and ordered one, but when I got it here with my switch and stuff, it looked just so tiny that I figured I'd better go to Radio Shack and get the one everyone else is using. So I did get that one, but it's not a huge amount larger than the one I ordered, so I'm a bit torn on which one to use, but I probably will use the Radio Shack one just because A lot of other people have used it, and so it should work. But just to show you, there are some other size vibrating motors. Here's a pretty good sized one. So they come in all different sizes. Anyways, I'm just going to glue that probably right here, maybe right here next to the switch, and just kind of hot glue that, and then extend the wires just like I'm doing with the rest of the wires. So you'll see that in the soldering section coming up here. The heat shrink just goes right on. Okay, so that's that module all done. Last thing I'm thinking about doing is extending this battery snap. There it is, all joined together. We'll let that glue set up, and we'll be ready to solder the circuit board back on to all the wires. Alright, good morning. Today I'm going to do a little more sanding on my device here. I got it all, the whole thing kind of put together, and I am just going to sand off these edges here now that the glue is all nice and dry, and maybe do a little sanding back here. Just try and get it smoothed out a little bit so that it fits my hand a little better. But I'm pretty happy with it so far. I still got all the wires hanging out the back here that need to be soldered to the circuit board, so I'm going to be doing that today. Hopefully I'm going to be done with this today, with maybe, you know, just some painting and some other little nitnoids to do later on. But my vacation's coming up where I'm planning on using this, so I'm hoping to get her done. First of all, I'm going to head over to the belt sander and zip this down.
There we go. She's looking pretty good. And I can just hand sand the rest of this down and I'll get her, it'll look pretty good. Okay, I probably paint that at some point. I've also seen people dip their Garret Pros in the some plastic dip. I might do that just to kind of further waterproof it. Figure out how to do something with that LED to kind of further waterproof that and not get the plastic dip in it. But for now, I think I'll just start soldering up these wires. It's going to be quite the job. Alright, at this point I plugged the battery in and realized that it was not functioning anymore. There were a couple modifications that I had made to the circuitry by changing some resistors and whatnot. So what I started to do is go back and look at what I had done, and this is kind of what I figured out. One thing I had done is, because I had adjusted this potentiometer from 500 ohms to 2000 ohms, I had adjusted this. I had tried to adjust this resistor from 2.2K to 1K. The other thing I had changed was I had added this resistor in that wasn't there, and this motor for the vibrator, and tied this jumper together. What I found out when I started backtracking was that I had actually thought I was changing this resistor, and I had actually pulled the wrong resistor and put the resistor in wrong. I put it in down here. So I changed this 10K to a 1K, which was just stupid. I should have known better. I should have double checked. The board had an R9 next to it, and then an R11 under it. And I didn't look under it. I just assumed that R9 next to it was fine, and pulled it and changed it, and this screwed everything up, because this is a voltage divider that splits the 5-volt rail and ground to give you 2.5 volts, and then it compares that 2.5 volts against what's coming out of here. So this would never go high to turn the unit on. So I went back, changed that back to a 10K, found the correct R9, changed that to the 1K, made sure this was wired correctly, because I had gotten the wires mixed up actually on the board. So I just went through and double checked a bunch of stuff to make sure that I had everything right. Sure enough, as soon as I made all those changes, unit came back up and fired up correctly, including the motor, which was added. Alright, we got it working. Fold it up. Bend these wires a little bit this way and a little bit that way, and we'll get her in there. And just push it on up in there. And what I'll probably make is a little plastic disc go up in there as well. Pretty quick and easy. I got a little ice cream bucket top here. Just mark it, cut it with a pair of scissors. Stuff it up in there. I can find my scissors. The idea with the plastic disc is to keep the battery, because the battery's got a metal case, to keep it from shorting out to the circuit board. I cut a little notch there for the battery wire. And just get that stuffed up in there. And top goes on the battery. Battery goes in there. Screw in my screw on my end cap. Last little thing I got to do, besides maybe paint it or something like that, I gotta put this little knob on here, and I need a little Allen wrench for that. Put it on there. That just dresses it up a little bit, and then I actually have a little rubber washer I think I'm going to put down in there as well, kind of between the knob and the case, and that will keep some more water out of there. That's basically about it. Turn it on, adjust it just like before, get close to metal, it buzzes. It's a lot quieter than it was, which is fine with me. I didn't really like the loud noise, but it's working. It's working. Alright, got some paint that's supposed to stick to plastic really well. I'm going to go ahead and try and paint this real quick. I don't know how well this paint sticks to plastic, but we'll give it a try here. Yeah. Sure is horrible. It looks horrible. Oh my god, I shouldn't have done that.